Gemara there continued. The Gemara says again. In the second wide outline of the Gemara in Sanhedrin, Daf Pei Beis. Holach Shifta Shel Shimon Etzel Zimri ben Solu. Amru Lo Hein Doni Din Nefashis Vata Yoshev B'Shoisek. They obviously felt. I'm going to have to. This is some child is crying. They obviously felt there was a legal taina. Don't know what it was at the moment. They said they had a taina. Now you should go and claim this taina. They're killing us because of what? They're killing us, as we learned last time in Shir, because we're Boil Aramis. And the Chayra, there's no din of killing the Boil Aramis. Well, specifically, if they were killing them after they were Pirish, there was definitely no din of Boil Aramis. Obviously, it was a Rosh Shah. That's what was understood when Moshe Rabbeinu told the Shoftim to kill the Mitzmadim Baal Peor. And as we explained last time, Mitzmadim Baal Peor means those who had a sexual encounter with the Bnei Midyan. So l'chayra, the din of Kanayim Paigaba is l'chayra only at the point of time of encounter, but after it was pirish, the din is it's not true. Second of all, it's halacha of ein Merin came. There's no halacha of Bezdin in this. So what does it mean when Moshe Rabbeinu tells the Rosh Yisrael, which means the Shoftim? Iman of Shech, if there's no psak din on this, there's no such halacha. You don't take a boiler hammers to Bezdin. It's either if the kanoi kills him, b'shas ma'is b'vakasha. If not, he's chayav kores from different Kabbalah. What's meant that he told Rosh Alpha Yisrael that they should go? That means the Shoftim. Muchach mikan, the pshat is you needed Bezdin to verify that he was a boiler hammers, and that, as I pointed out, shittas are showing that you need Chav Gimel to verify. Once they verified that they're Boiler Amos, now they would kill them because of a Rosh Shah. As the pasuk says, if you see the pasuk, they want the God killed, they want them to be killed because there was a Charain Af Hashem. Go back to the pasuk just to look at it carefully, and you'll see it inside. If you have it in those sheets that I sent you, the pasuk says, "Vayemra Hashem Moshe Kaches Kol Rashi Ha'am," which means the Bezdin. V'Hoika Asam, and you should string them up. Now the din is there's no din of hakoy of tliya by Boiler Ramas. It's only by Aruge Bezdin Mordukul Alma. So clearly they weren't being killed. If you would say they're killed because of David Zara Nicha, but already that what we learned already in Mufurish and the Psukim based on the Ibn Ezra, that their murder, the killing was going to be because of Boiler Ramas. The Rai is the Gemara in Sanhedrin. When the Gemara in Sanhedrin says that Bnei Shimon come to say they're done in the fushes, you have to do something about it. Well, he didn't have a claim of Avodah Zarah, if you know the Gemara. We'll see the Gemara again. Clearly, the claim was around Boiler Ramas. So what's the pshat in the Schie of Misa, which had the din Tliya of Aruge Bezdin after you kill the person, you have to be toilim ad ha'erev. That's the pasuk, the mocker of Kfur, like suddenly v'loscha ad ha'bayker. Why? Because kill is elokimu. To tell him elokim it's a bezoyin. That this was a Rosh Shah because it doesn't fit with any halacha. And the pasuk Takta says why? V'yoshiv charin af Hashem b'Yisrael. It was a Rosh Shah, and since Moshe Rabbeinu was a Navi Muchach, so the halacha is the Navi Muchach. He is Nemon, and you take it as Nevuah. For a Rosh Shah to change halacha. This is Mefurish and Rambam Perek Zayin Hichsisay the and he was a Navi Muchach with more than just a chazaka. Umeila Alachein, this is what this was. It was not to be Mesich Charan Af Hashem. There's a tremendous Charan Af equals on these type of realities as we explained by Chava last week. Was it last week? Yeah. Because Baal Bas El Nechar, which was as we discussed the heavy reality of such a Veira, I explained it by Chava. So then L'chaira, that's why there was a din of Tliya, and that's why there was a din you had to verify them. But it was clearly a Rosh Shah, it wasn't a regular din of Boiler Ramas. So they came screaming. Now you understand, what did he say? Vayem Moshe Shefti, so Higu Ish on the Shelf, Hanitzmadim lebal por, which we explained was a chayre b'el aramis. So this is what happened. This is what the Bnei Shimon were telling. What they're doing here, there was zicher and ira on the Nebuah of Moshe. This is, what are you talking about? How could it be that such a halacha? It doesn't make sense. Now you can see it. You can see Zimri's tinus. Look, Zimri, I don't understand what you want. This is not. If it be der chasnus, what ich verstanden. This is an issue. At least it's Schattenbaum. This is not der chasnus. It's der stamzus. And they even there, what do you want? So what did he say to him? What did Zimri come? He typed his herb blue. You saw the word says. Let's get to the point. We discussed a bit of this last week. He topsa bebluriso. We're in two lines before it widens out at the bottom of Pepe and the Pepe's or Medalip. Eviad so Moshe Amar Lai ben Amram. That's how we called him Moshe. Zu Asurai Muteris. She Asura Muter. What happens to Bas Yisrael? In other words, what's he asking? What's the kasha? She's also not Jewish. She wasn't born Jewish. What should he mean? You lived with her before Matan Torah, and you live with her after Matan Torah. Bas Yisrael miyitir l'cha. Selbe Zach. He doesn't understand difference. There's definitely no Isser involved. There's no this love loises chatin. Somebody because she's a shiksa, he's also the same thing. Might not kamina. You lived with her before Matan Torah. There was no gerus then. Well, I'm hoping you stomach. She was shomer mitzvah bnei noach. She came. She wasn't over that by the but how do you know? This was his taina. His taina is basically, what do you want? There's no avera. When Nisama Mena Halacha, he forgot what's shut Nisama Mena Halacha. He forgot which halacha. Then what? Obviously, there's something which is missing. Because how this? This is what did he do here, Zimri? Zimri basically questioned the veracity of this nevuah of Eruah Shai. Doesn't make it taste Eruah Shai. Why would God be angry? Why isn't He angry at you? It's not a Sifri Shechorach. It's not a din. You're telling us Charanach Hashem. What's up, Charanach Hashem? Why isn't He angry at you? All of a sudden, he's angry at these people. Might not kamina. And he lost it. What this Avamena Halacha, the idea of Abayil Aram is Kanaim Peigenbay, which means to say, yes, God is angry at Bayil Aramis. There may not be a Chi of Misa, but it's a despicable thing. There's a chorus with Divrei Kabbalah, and we see that Kanaim Peigenbay. Equals a Kishboch was angry not as Isher Erva, at the Gufa Chibur, as we discussed by Chava last time, the Maisa Chibur between the Nishmas Yisrael and this Bas El Nechor, this Chibur is something which is terrible, horrendous in the eyes of God. And that's a Siba for a Kas, and a Mela, there's a Raz Shah. Because others, what did he told him? What's got to be Salman Mena Alocha, but I'm just Kanaim Paigma, Marda Kula Alma. I mean, the Bnei Shimon were not over Yisr Boil Aramis. They were over the Yisr, but we're talking about after they were boiled already. You needed Bezin to verify. The Teretz is, he told them they didn't do anything wrong. And Moshe forgot to tell him why it's wrong. He didn't mean to say that Bnei Shimon should be Nerag, we didn't boil Aramis. That's impossible. Bnei Shimon are Nerag because of Rosh Hashanah, because they did something despicable, which is Malach Harinaf Hashem. And the Yisrael Allah, they didn't have a Ba'al Aramis Kanaim Paigim, how despicable it is to be mischaber to Avodah Zarah through that mashal, as we discussed by Chava. Now, at that point in time, what did Zimri do? So now it's a very interesting thing. The whole world forgot the halacha, not just him. What about everybody else in the neighborhood? And the Teretz says because the Gufa halacha wasn't shaykh here at the moment. The Gufa halacha klapep bnei Shimon is not. They were. Boiler Amos Kanayim Pagmay is only b'shas chibur. They were post chibur. You need a beznaf of Gilman to be who did it. So the Sama halacha means you have to chap with alumnus. It's because once we understand that Boiler Amos Kanayim Pagmay, that is a siba for a Rosh Shah of a Charanaf Hashem. This I can understand. That shtickle lumdus, no one's supposed to open them out. Yomer alochem if they rabcha. The guy says if Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't see that should be a reason, how is anybody going to make the lumdus in front of him? You wait and you listen. Moshe Rabbeinu the chagoy salam. Moshe Rabbeinu is supposed to answer. Abayel Ramis kanayim payim. Memela, that's why it's a davar mos. Memela, it's meirer charanaf Hashem. Memela, there's a rasha. I asked you a question. How did the halach was forgotten from the whole door? They sat 40 years in the desert and they learned Boi Mikrav. The teachers are never pushing. It's not a direct answer to the question. It's the value system behind Boi Ramis, which will explain why the validity of this Eiraz Shah. What happened was that Zimri basically was mezalzel in the basic hanacha. Okay, he didn't see a makom for Eiraz Shah. He also wasn't mavchin between Sipora and the other non-Jews. Why? It's a davar pasha. Because before, so to speak, I'm taking for granted that before Matan Torah, Sipora was not Oived Avodah Zarah Kimavur, that her father became her father was originally a big Avodah Zarah, but her father afterwards came from place to place to place, and he became an outcast because he finally encountered the God of the Hebrews. That's why the Rashi brings the Medrash. That's why he couldn't find anybody to herd his flock, and his daughters had to go to do it, and they wouldn't even let them give them water. If you remember the Rashi in the encounter of Moshe with the Bnei Yisrael, because he was an outcast, because he was in a religious search, and he was walking away from Avodah Zarah. No, so this happens to be a shidduch. So obviously we understand that she embraced a walking away from Avodah Zarah. There's nothing more. There's no point of being a Jew then. They were all Sheva Mitzvah Bnei Noach, and she wasn't Avodah Zarah. The flip side is, what happens after she was Mizgaya. Kol Klal Yisrael is Mizgaya. Matan Torah is a Maisa Gear. We learn all Hilchas Gear from the bris of Matan Torah, as we discussed once in the Shir, the Knisa Labris with the Mila and the Tefillah and the Korban, all is learned from, and Ram brings us in the Surabia. Where is it? Where he brings it, where this is all learned from Matan Torah the day after. So that's the kind of a pasha would actually happen by Yisrael, but this girl was not. She was a Basel Necher. She wasn't makbid on Sheva Mitzvah Bnei Noach. And after Matan Torah, it doesn't matter. After Matan Torah, even a Gerish Taishav, she's also Balai Kanayim Payim, but she doesn't have to be an active Oived Avodah Zarah. She's non-denominational. As long as she's a shiksa, she's called Yosef bin Chamachayev because she takes away his Jewish religion, his religious identity. Then Mamela, he'll go to the Avodah Zarah. This is all Acher Matan Torah. According to Matan Torah, that didn't happen. And after Matan Torah, Tzipori was a Jew like everybody else. All the Jews were converts. There was no one which wasn't a convert. It's as simple as that. Everybody was Niflis Labris. That's above her Pashit. That's so Mamela, this was the mistake of Zimri, but Zimri had a timer. Now it's interesting, we have to understand that he had a timer. And what is he going to do? He expressed this. He went and took her to an island. He was stuck in being boiled around, and Moshe was sitting there, didn't know what to do. He forgot the halacha, or he forgot the ramifications of this halacha to apply to this din. Because if he had remembered the halacha, he should have gone himself and killed Zimri himself. So it really happened here. The question was not about the question is, they didn't do anything wrong. Your Eiraz Shah can't be. The Tetzes did something wrong because the value behind Boil Aramis. What happens then? Zimri actually acts a din of Boil Aramis. He goes to the Oil Kimavur and the Gemara, and he actually engages in Boil Aramis. At that point of time, Moshe Rabbeinu still is flabbergasted. He's in shock. He doesn't understand how he doesn't know how to explain the Nevuah. So did he forget halacha? It's not just that he forgot the lumdus how to answer through the din of Boil Aramis. He probably didn't sound in Boil Aramis. Why? Because why didn't he make sure to go kill Zimri himself? It is only Pנחas, as the Gemara says afterwards of the Gemara. Go kulam bebchia v'haim d'chsiva in beichim pesach ha'elu ksiva yar Pinchas ben Elazar ma ra'ah. Omar Rav Roa Maaseh, he saw a Maaseh. Which Maaseh did he see? He saw Zimri engaging in a sexual encounter with Cosby. With Nizker halacha, at that point in time, he remembered the halacha. In other words, he also didn't remember the halacha before because there wasn't a direct question. They didn't see a Boiler Ramis then. They loved this question. But once he was Boiler Ramis, it clicked in his head. This is the halacha, and that's the answer to that question. Dr. Roa Maisa, he saw the Maisa of Zimri. But Nisker halacha, he chapped there's such a din, and that's the answer to the Rosh Shah. Omar Lloyd, now this is interesting answer. What does he say to him? Achi Avi Abba. It's interesting, the only place where Moshe Rabbeinu is called uncle, great uncle. I understand nepotism. It's common by Jews. Okay, ich verstehe nicht. Sei mir Michael. We should say, uncle. Uncle Joe, sehr fine. Was meint uncle? Mit darf sagen, Moran Sarah Torah. I don't know, all the other great titles in the Yosef Nema. Was hat uncle? And this is interesting. So my uncle, not just my great uncle. I want you to know, hey, you're the father of my grandfather. Was meint das? Let's understand when we read this. It means say you are Aaron's brother. And because you are Aaron's brother, I understand this halacha. Why is he calling him uncle? Achi Avi Abba, brother of my grandfather, equals Aaron. Loi kachli matani, this is what you taught me. Beritcha mehar Sinai, when you came down from Har Sinai. Now, I hate to ask the question. It doesn't say that you taught the world. Why is he focusing on limad tani and not limad tanu? We had a private tutors class, as I remember. The rabbi brings the Seder al Limud. What happens is not in Pנחs is never there alone. It started right after Matan Torah. It was with Nadav and Avihu and Elazar Vezmeri. Pנחs came together with the other ones. Open the Rambam and the Akdama of Sefer HaMitzvahs. Pנחs became a Goyse Gibber only afterwards. But when did Pנחs learn this halacha? Like more in Erevin, Moshe comes down. He teaches to Moshe. He teaches to Aaron and Banav, as Aaron and the Banav shel Aaron, which is Nadav Avihu Elazar Vezmeri. And then he goes again and he teaches the Zakenim. Steht nicht etwas dafke Pנחs. So was meint das Kacheli Matani? This is in other words, mean to say, I learned this from you. He may have heard it b'chlal, but he's trying to say, this is the malkim which I had an insight. Now, what does that mean? Hey, uncle, as we're related, I chapped something that you taught, I learned from you when you came down from Sinai. Now, when did this exactly happen? Are we talking about Motzi Luchas Rishonis or Motzi Luchas Shniyos? When is the Ritcha Mihar Sinai that we're talking about? Are we talking Shavasa B'Tammuz? Are we talking Lemachas Yom Kippurim? What are we talking about? Moshe came down to Machas Yom Kippur. Are we talking Yud Aleph Tishrei or are we talking Shavasa B'Tammuz? What's making the Lamatani Ritcha Mihar Sinai? Does it mean afterwards? When he sat there for 40 years and gave them shiurim for 40 years, can you imagine sitting by one round for 40 years? God. Okay, so he taught them shiur for 40 years. That's when it happened. What's happened to Ritcha Mihar Sinai? So what exactly happened to Ritcha Mihar Sinai, which I look at you as my uncle, and therefore I learned from you, when you came down from the mountain, that this is the din. What's the halacha? Abayel Aram is kanaim paigim by. So these questions I asked Rav Blachman. And he told me, and I never saw it inside. So I guess he's Neman. Yeah, he was quite okay. Okay. He told me, b'shem, his words are Beis Midrashay shel Agra. Now that can run very far. It's not in the lesson. So that could be based on, but it's not there. That book I somehow went through. It's in Ksavim or Mendelish Glover, is there Isaac Chover, is there David Luria? Das weiß ich nicht. I push you don't know. But he said over in the name of, he said, B'Shei Beis Medrash Shel Agra. So if he would have said agree, I would have thought he's talking about himself. You know what I mean? But since he said Agra, so what did he say? He said, this group of a Shteda. Shteda Brit Chamar. What did Moshe Rabbeinu do Brit Chamar Sinai? We don't even know. In the Mikra, there's no psukim describing Yeridas Har Sinai and Luchas Shniyos. It doesn't say a thing. Garnished. When do we have psukim describing Yerida Mehar Sinai? Only by Luchas Rishonis. We have the Yerida B'Har Sinai and Shivasa V'Tammuz. That's when we have the story of Yerida Mehar Sinai. Did he teach anything then? Are you kidding? He didn't teach anything then. But it doesn't say Limatanu. It says Limatani. It means, yes, I learned from you then. What did I learn? I learned from Shpiras Haluchas that Boiler Ramish is Kanayim Pagim. That's how Rav Yitzchak said over B'Shem Beis Midrash Shel Agra. If I had the source, I would mamish re-quote it to you and read it. I don't have the source. I'm going to accept him for a moment. I'll explain. It's the davar Pasha was Takim Mekubal Sinai, but then Moshe Rabbeinu didn't teach it. Then B'Yodid Ma'ar Sinai. He taught that afterwards in the days that came after Luchas Shniyos, because there was no one learning beforehand. That's a chayes, but he already chapped that this is what Shbiras Haluchas was, and this is what the catalyst, and this is what expressed it all. That the Shbiras Haluchas is bets in the matzav ha'abayil ha'ramish kanayim paigim. And the chayr it's a davar pasha. And now you understand why he calls him uncle. You're Aaron's brother. What's Aaron here? Because the Shbiras Haluchas was because of your brother, right? Aaron. When Aaron made the egel, so the pasuk says in Parshas Kishisa, it's really brought down in Rishonim. I don't need this what I'm about to say, but Lamaisa, there's a drasha there, on this, and a Sfasamis that I remember. I haven't had time to look it up. I know it's there. It's brought down like this. The pasuk says, "V'yikach b'yadam v'yatzau yisay b'cheret v'yaseu ego masecha." And we know the Ramban says that means that I taught before, and when I was there on Shabbos, he basically wanted to make a tzura of the Shosha b'Merkava, to be mamshich that the Hanhaga of a Kadosh Baruch Hu should go through Midas HaGvura, Midas Adin, because you need that to live in the desert. You can read the Ramban. I don't need that for that. It was basically, it was not, you weren't going to pray to this thing, you weren't going to do anything to this thing, just that you don't pray to Moshe. It was some kind of a demus that through that, a Kadosh Baruch Hu would mashrish nevuah, and then you would know what to do. And the nevuah would come through Midas Adin. Because nevuah, hadracha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu through Midas Adin was supposed to is what is needed in the desert. That's what the Ramban explains. And they said, who? The Erev Rav, Eila Elohecha Yisrael Asher Aluchem Et Mitzrayim. That was the Erev Rav, which said that this is your gods which took you out of Egypt. This is not what Aaron HaKohen meant. Ramban elaborates on this. I suggest you read it there in Parshat Kitisa. Aaron sees this. Then Mizbeach Lefanav. He actually builds an altar in front of him. What did he do as a counter statement to what they said? As opposed to you saying, Eila, the Shosha b'Merkava, is Elohecha Yisrael Sha'aluchem Et Mitzrayim, Zot our name, it's Chag L'Yud Kevav Kemacher. Simply read the Chumash. He's basically, doing a counter claim. Now, what does it mean? Why was it going to be a Chag? The Chag was going to be because he understood that on Yud Zayin B'Tammuz, that's when Moshe, the 40 days are over, and Moshe Rabbeinu was supposed to come down. And finally, there'll be the Gemar HaKabbalah Nesinas HaTorah, which happened in Vav Sivan. 40 days later, the Yud Zayin B'Tammuz, there would be Kabbalah HaTorah. So Enochanami, it's a Yom HaMiyu'at for Kabbalah HaTorah, which is the ultimate confirmation of the bris between Klal Yisrael and Kodesh Baruch Hu. Chag L'Yud Kevav Kemachar. He's pointing out, and this is a double portion. Yeah, Yud Zayin B'Tammuz, his takis was supposed to be the Sassim V'La Simcha, Kimavur in the Pasuk in Zechariah. The only reason you don't celebrate it is because it's B'Shem HaChurban. The Gemara says that in Rosh Hashanah Yud Ches Amid Beis. Because the Churban was Nikfa as a Tzayim. But basically, Be'etzim Yud Zayin B'Tammuz is supposed to be a Yom Tov. So Semes brings us the name of the Ari. Chag La Yud Kei Vav Kei Mocha, it's supposed to be a Yom Tov. So what happened here? Aaron did B'Tmimus. But the problem is, as Moshe Rabbeinu tells him, what did you do to this people that you caused them to stabble reality? You had good intentions, but they deserve. They deserve because not all of them, some believe, some be you're the grim for this terrible sin. So we talk about Achi Avi Abba, which dramatic pause. This is what we're talking about here. Here, your uncle, you're Aaron's brother, right? And in context of that relationship, of that the dialogue between Aaron and Moshe, this I remember. That's your spiritual luchas. Was meint das? It meant this is the davar pasha. So what happened at the end? Well, I'll explain what it says over here. What happens at the end? He suddenly realizes that what? Yes, that the cloud is. Just like Baal Aramis, God gave you certain kalim, which you're supposed to use for a certain matorah. For example, your cheshik, your taiva for extensive behavior, projecting yourself. You're supposed to use for what? For koyach achidush of ribui divrei Torah. And you take that energy of self-expression, you express it in the ugliest worlds possible. This is a Gemara, isn't it? It's a Gemara in Sukkah. The Gemara in Sukkah, Dafnun Beis, tells the story. Talking about young yeshiva bach, we have to understand something. Pasuk says as follows: Et atzfoni archikna lechem. I will take the northern one, which means here, it means the Yetzer Hara, it means the Nachash in Gan Eden. I will take it away from you. It's a pasuk in Yeshayahu. Tanu Rabbana, our teachers taught us. Et atzfoni archikna lechem ze Yetzer Hara. I'm going to remove it from you. Shetzafun v'oimed beliba shel adam is hidden and stays in your heart, so to speak, in your emotions. I will kick him away to a land, place of desolation and emptiness. The makam he shouldn't have parnasa, he shouldn't be able to seduce people to do sin. As Ponavel Yama Kadmoni, the face of the Nachash is to the Yama Kadmoni. What does that mean? Shenasam Eina B'Migdash Rishain V'Chrivoi. V'Horag Tamidei Chacham Shabai. That's the Kadmoni. V'Soifer Yama Achron. What's Yama Achron? Shenasam Eina B'Migdash Sheni V'Chrivoi. V'Horag Tamidei Chacham Shabai. V'Ola B'Oshoi, and his stink will rise. V'Tal Tzachanosoi. Shemeniach Umay Sa'olam Umizgara B'Seineim She Yisrael means there's a unique Yetzer Hara specifically for Yisrael. Whenever we talk about the bad things for the Jews, we say B'Seineim She Yisrael. Not to say Lashon, to talk Lashon Akir, but we're really talking about these especially Yetzer Hara for Chatoim, for Yidden. He did lasot, and here the Gemara tells a story. Amar Abaye, ubetamidei chachamim, the Yetzer Hara is misgara yoyser mikula. And here we haven't been talking about the Yetzer Hara of bodily type, specifically of a sexual nature. Ubetamidei chachamim yoyser mikula. Ki hoda Abaye, just like Abaye, the Shamei lahu gavra, the Kamer la'yitza. He heard a man saying to a woman, Nagdim, let's go away early. V'nez l'bu'urchem, we'll go together on the highway. Well, I will accompany each other. No. Omar, he decided, Ezel, I'm going to follow them. Aflumel, afleshinu mi-yisura. I'll be mafresh them unless they go into an illicit encounter. At that point, I will stop them. They shouldn't end up doing something bad. Very nice for him, boy. He was mishmeres at tznius, and he decided to follow this couple to make sure they don't do something which is not appropriate. Ozo bastrayu klat parsa ba'agma. There were 3 parsa ba'agma. They were in a meadow. They were not in a yishuv. Meikra adin, this guns are on the shayla of yichud. Ki have a parsha ma'adadi, but they split. Nothing happened, and they went at a fork in the road. One went right, one went left. Shaminu, he heard them saying, the ka'amra urchin rechikin. The paths are very far, so we have to split. That's what Rashi says. If we could go in one way, our company is really great being with you, but our distances are far. So I really love your company, but goodbye. I go to the right and you go to the left. Urchin rechikin. Our paths are very far from each other. But our company, besima, is very busum. It's very pleasant. Amar Abaye, Zukt Abaye. Iman desonili. If there would be one of my enemies, which equals myself, Rashi says that Rashi, Iman desonili imoya soina misyachin ma'isha. Loya yemotzi ukme nafshem lechtoi va'atzmai hoya oime. If it would have been me, loya v'kamotzi ukme nafshem, I couldn't restrain myself. I would have engaged in a sexual activity with this girl. Also, Tola Navshei Bibur Dasha. He was so distraught. They see me leaned on the doorpost, and he was totally taken aback. How can it be that John dove there, Baruch Hashem, decked well, and he was sure that he would be in that situation. He wouldn't split. He wouldn't go Yemina v'Smoila. They would end up together. Umitztayer Osa Usaba. The spot time many times when it says also Usabta means to say Eliyahu Novi. The Tzaddik says this quite a few times in Sitkas HaTzaddik. Also Usaba, it's a Taisis in Chulun, the beginning of Chulun, above there. Where Taisis mentions when it says also Usaba, it means Eliyahu Novi. Also Usaba, Tonalei, he told him, my young boy, don't be so distraught. Kodla Godol Michaverai Yitzray Godol Imenu. Yeah. You have a kli. Your kli is a taiva, an obsessive desire for connection, an obsessive desire for expression. You're supposed to use that energy in Torah. Just says Torah is supposed to be madivei Torah, pouring v'ravim, they constantly grow. You're supposed to use that energy. If you look at Kama B'Kama Meshalim in Chazal, where they describe Limud Torah, they describe it as an erotic reality. Not going to start looking at different midrashim. Because he has a kli. You're supposed to, you were given a kli to use in a proper way. That's your challenge. If you were given such a kli of taiva equals a taiva, yeah, you should be taiva for Ilam Haba, taiva for Limud Torah. An obsessive desire for expressing yourself in Limud Torah. That's where I should be. That's how you express what the whole idea of arise and the idea of an obsessive desire for self-expression and reaffirmation of the self. That's what this is. That's why it's called chesed de tuma. Chesed means unlimited expression of self. That's why znus is called chesed. It's unlimited. You don't have the gulas. We talk about this in the Agada of times. So we talk about a young person, which if he shouldn't be, if he has typhus, he should say, "Thank you, God." That means you have expectations. You take that and say, "Well, you really expect things from me." So you understand. And when you're a young boy with the typhus are bigger, it means God expects to use those years dafka for expression in typhus and limud Torah and typhus life. You're younger, you're gadol mechaveroi. You have more creativity. You have more of that. So don't blame it on hormones. Blame it on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He has given you a toolbox. Use it. It's as simple as that. You're falling. You fall because you don't understand what the meaning of these things are and how they should be channeled and used in a certain way. That doesn't. This often a Gemara, right? This is the Gemara Daf Nun Beis in Sukkah. Rav Tzaddik discusses this. I think I sent it to you. Look in the sheet. I don't know if I sent that one. I'll read a piece to you. So Rav Tzaddik and Tzidkas Tzaddik Mem Dalet. Mi sheyesh le'tshuka g'dayla l'tayvus haguf. Al yitatzev mizeh l'chshov kama pagumu sheyesh le'tshuka kol kach. Don't get, nervous. Ki adraba hu kli mucham l'toikev ava v'tshukas drishas ha'emes. This is the kli, the energy which should be used, the taikif avas shukas drishas ha'emes. That's the sentence. Couldn't be more beautiful. U'kemoshe nichma hu saba la'abaye v'alzeh amrud l'osid lavai tzadikim nidlem yetzer hara kahar. It's a big thing because they engaged a big taiva. The Rishonim kichuta saira, they the Rishonim because they destroyed their bchira, they destroyed their toolbox. Because they didn't have that toolbox. If they were given originally, they destroyed it with their chatoim. Ve'eno sheker akshneim emes ki le'elet shukosim v'tavosim atzumim v'yoser. It's a very important because we have to understand. This continues what I discussed last week. It's the kulei kalim for a mashal and a nimshal. That's what this all is. One has to put this in. I'm trying to deal with certain issues, not going down, but bringing you up. Seeing them at a certain perspective, which there, says, behave yourself, if not the fires of hell will burn you. Behave yourself, because if not, you're an idiot. Behave yourself, if not, it's nezim zov b'af chazer. What can I tell you? That's the tzur that one has to see these things. That's what comes out of this whole ma'ala. How could you? You're an idiot. You're simply I don't know. You don't have a din of adam mazik. What can I tell you? That's the tzura that you're supposed to look at things. Okay? It does have a shteidah. This is the idea that when we talk about certain kalim, certain mishalim, so here we have a concept that basically he chapped shbiras haluchas living around that. And let me explain why. It's a davar pashut. You have to chap. The Torah, if there wouldn't have been a shbiras haluchas, and there wouldn't have been, there would only be luchas rishonos. We know what the Gemara says. The Gemara says, wow, Torah would have been written on our hearts. We wouldn't have to write to it. We wouldn't have to understand. Everything we would understand. We wouldn't need Techachas Hanavim. You'd have Chamisha Chumsha Torah v'Sefer Yeshua Bilvad because of Chibas Eretz Yisrael. That's stated in Gemara. There wouldn't be, what happens to all your Sheol, your Miyon? Thanks. Well, given, Chasvana Loch Libecha. You understand? Everything would be there. It'd be unbelievable. We'd see a pasuk chumash, we'd chop alone. There wouldn't be shikchas HaTorah. Can you imagine that? The Gemara said you wouldn't have forgotten anything. I mean, what are we talking about? This is people at such a profound level of thought that obviously they gave him a Torah, which is Roy Lahem. These people at Matan Torah had attained a perfection of Bittul Zoya Masa Nachash. There was no more pollution of the Nachash HaKadmoni. They were now ready to start to do what Adam was supposed to be doing before he sinned. And that type of people had a certain type of Torah. I can imagine, just dream about such a thing. They probably saw other things in Bab Metzia that I see. They probably saw, you know what I mean, as like trailers. They saw Kisei HaKavod and everything. If everything the Gemara says is a mashal, the Gemara said that the Torah is a mashal HaKadmoni. It's a mashal l'kadmoni shel olam. Everything's a mashal because actually it's much deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And then you figure out what is it in the mind of God himself. Believe me, it's not exactly about the Yush Shalom Midas Aviyush Shalom Aviyush. Zohar Kodesh says that in this world, the letters, Saras is called Nega, but in the Olam Ha'elyon, you turn the letters around, they're called Ayin Nun Gimel, it's called Oinig. I'm not even going to explain that. Okay? But the Nega is a mushal of a mushal of a mushal. Bill, you end up with Oinig somewhere. That's what this all is. And can you imagine we would then be living in that Nimshal? And the Torah we would have then would be the Torah of the Nimshal. That was a frightening Torah. That type of Torah is never forgotten because that type of Torah connects to your essential soul identity. And the Rambam writes in Nevuchim that there's no such thing as a shikha l'adavar shehu be'etzem. Shikha is only an adavar shehu b'mikra. Something which connects essentially to your identity you never forget. For example, hopefully your anniversary. Okay, and your wife's birthday. Okay, there's certain things you don't forget, for goodness sakes. And if you forgot them, you're in a bad place. As simple as that. If you need your phone to tell you when your wife's birthday is, you're in a very bad place. That means something's off. Okay, it's supposed to be a davar shehu be'etzem. So you chap the Torah by Luchas Rishonos was never going to be forgotten. It's a Gemara and Erevin. That means all of Torah would be a davar shehu be'etzem in your metzius. And when you would say Keim Chayenu, you'd say, yeah, of course. What's life? A black Gemara mitatesvus. I once remember Zistel told me, what do you think Olam Haba is? I said, no, I have these visions. He says, das ist ganz poshet. A größer Ständer mit a Schulzen Geschas and a good glass of tea. That's Olam Haba. So I asked him, what's Gehenim? Sehr poshet. A schwache Ständer with a small pninim shas and a cold glass of tea. He wasn't joking. That was a mushal, but you have to have, I told you, this is a man which I can say Adis. I can say Adis. I used to leave his house at 1. I can also say Adis. I slept with him in his morning. At 4:15 in the morning, he was up already. He went to learn his Chumash and Ramban. Ich sage Adis. And in the afternoon, he put his feet up on a chair and listened to the news because he religiously believed you have to listen to the news so they'd be more urban abrius. He would listen to the news from 2 to 2:20 or something like that. And then he stayed with his eyes closed for another 10 minutes. That's it. That was his Schlafstunde of the day, a half an hour. And he went to sleep something like 1:20 because I left at 1:05. And 4:15, the guy was up. Tachlis, he slept 3 hours a day. If he fell asleep immediately, okay. That's what this guy did. So he documented. His Olam Haba was going to be a Shulzen Geshas. That used to be the Cholim. You don't know what the Shulzen Geshas were. They were like the most beautiful shas around. Okay, you know what I mean? A Shulzen Geshas, a größer Ständer, and a heiße Gläsel Tee. That's Olam Haba. You understand? So these type of people, they it makes sense. I mean, ich verstehe. I understand very much. When you see this and you touch it and you hear it, you understand. Yeah, it's not just a drush; it's the real thing. That would be Luchas Rishonos, okay? But obviously you can't take, can you imagine somebody here that was a brilliant genius and he was, and you were going to give him a present. So you're going to give him this unbelievable, intelligent book that the 10 people in the world can understand. He's one of them. And something happens and his brain goes like the fuse is bust. And now he's, sucking his finger and eating bananas like a little baby. Are you still going to give him that book? Or are you going to buy him some, what are they called? Lego. They call these little cars and dolls you give to children. Mobile. I forgot what it's called. What they buy for my grandchildren, these tzatzkelach. You're going to give him these tzatzkelach. But you're going to give him now that treatise on Aristotle. He doesn't know how to read the words on it. I'm not going to go be mechaber the greatest kedusha in Torah to a person which is sunk in the abyss of tumah. It's the ultimate. It's like the halacha of tefillin cannot be on the head of a novel. You don't put an ornament in a pigsty. And if you would, it's a zilzul of that ornament. It doesn't add up. Putting tefillin on an oval is two halachas. Halacha nichas avelos. Rambam brings it in two places. It's also halacha nichas tefillin. This is not the makam of the tefillin. And the tefillin are a steer to the avelis. Avelis is a steer to tefillin. You'll see when you learn the sugyas, there's two agdoras there. That's why the Rambam brings it in two places. Also the Tur, by the way. Shtei da yisod. Shbiras haluchas was simply understood. You cannot be medabik Torah's chayim, such a Torah which is shaykh to chayim amitim, and to give it to people which are basically finite, drenched in sin, and they are mugbalim. You can't give ein soif and give it medabik it to the sun. You can't take Torah's luchas or rishonos to a world which is so imperfect. So we had to break it. So we understood one thing: we don't take. You can't have that chibur. It's a bizoyin of the kedusha. He obviously understood that Abayel Aramis, God gave such an unbelievable tool, as we discussed it at length. I just showed it again with the Gemara and Sukkah. He gave a tool for dveikus and tshuka, for Torah and dveikus b'Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Remember, I told you the story with the Mittler Rebbe. They had to remember, by the way, that Kal is a girl. Okay, and what did you do? You took that mashal and you medabik in the nimshal of Avodah Zarah. That can't be. There's no greater chilul of taking a jewel into a pigsty than that. It's a gam lichvish, it's a malka imi babais. That has to be separated. So shbiras haluchas is basically the inspiration, is the ultimate expression of Abayel Aramis Kanoim Pegim Boy. We can't take the mashal HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is the mashal kulei for kedusha and tshuka, as we learned in Reb Tzaddik, and that's why we have these taivas. It's a tshuka for drishas ha'emes. Just remember that statement. The energies of taiva are energies which can be channeled into an obsessive drishas ha'emes. And what do? You use it to put yourself into a pigsty. That's the side of Kanaim Pagin Boy. It's taking the holiest mashal and using it for the exact opposite of what it's there for. You're nidbek b'avodah, you're nidbek b'tumah, you're nidbek wherever you're nidbek. That's the getter. That is that. That is what I heard from my Rebbe in the without all the embellishment. The kuda, that's the pshat that Shbiras Haluchas is the makar arisha that Pנחas chapped. The getter, the intensity and the importance of Abayel Aramis Kanaim Pagin. He may have known the din, but he didn't understand the Aimek. It's at Luchas, it's Shbiras Haluchas that he chapped. That Abayel Aramis is so horrendous. It's the same reason Moshe had to break the Luchas. Then he chapped how horrendous it is. Says, wow, this answers the kasha of the Hira Shah. This is a horrendous reality. This is terrible. That's the mahalach of the sugi here. Then it makes sense, everything. That's the clown. So Adkan, one Nakuda. Just want you to know that and if Yud Zayin B'Tammuz was supposed to be a day of Gilui Shechina, of Krisis, of Bris, of a Kabbalah Satira, it means to say that is still there, and it will be. In the Arish Shtei Takin Shar Kavanis, the Olam Asud Lavai, Yud Zayin Tammuz is going to be the day of Kabbalah's Luchas Rishonos. I want you to understand how important this is. But what's more important is that I explained what I need to explain about that mashal and that nimshal, because that's important specifically for everybody, but specifically for young boys at this stage of the game. Now I want to read. There's obviously a problem here. I understand. Here I explained Zimri at a simple pshat level. I think it's pashut pshat. But there's more. At the end of the day, Zimri is Suriel ben Shaddai. Shlumiel ben Suri Shaddai, excuse me, one of the Nisim of which are Makab in the Migdash, Chanukah Sabayis. This was a big man. So I sent you, I'm going to read something to you. There's a mimer of the Reb Chaim Vital, which is a mimer of the Ari. I'm not going to read it all to you. This is not for public consumption. But I just want to read a line. And this is the shirish of what we're going to read now in the Me'ah Shilayach. He writes, talking about and explaining the depth of what happened between Zimri ben Salu and Kozbi Basur, and I'm not going to explain it at the moment. Ki kol ma'aseh harishonim umidrash Haggadah nizkar b'Torah inam lefi pshutam. Ve'inam b'derech mikreh. V'dai b'zeh ki advrim ha'elu hem kivshono she'olam. Talking about the unique connection. I'll give one more sentence. And here he writes, when he talks about the relationship between Zimri and Kozbi, you're going to hear a sentence which is frightening. Zokti Ari, okay, I'm going to say it. It is very frightening. V'haita bat zugo. She was actually his soulmate. Zulato sha'achal pachla paga. The problem was he met her too early in history. Achal paga means you ate an unripe fruit. It's Gemara in Sanhedrin. V'adayin lo haisa ru'uya. But he made a mistake and thought she was ru'uya. V'lechein hu nikra shlumi el. He's at peace with God. That's a heavy statement. It's based on this statement that the Me'ah Shiloach comes and discusses something, which I want to share with you today. This is our last time for the Zman, and who knows, some of you guys are going off to the greater world of ignorance, so you'll probably never hear anything like this again. So here's your chance. It starts with a thing like this. First of all, there's a Me'ah Shilayach, this in Parshas Vayeshev. I sent it to you. It's the last thing that I sent. It's like a thin column, which have quite a things which are underlined. And there, the Me'ah Shilayach, I'll give you the broad thesis, the idea there, and then we'll see this. The Me'ah Shilayach writes that people who have totally cleansed themselves, that don't make a move in life without making a cheshem, is this Ratzon Hashem. You don't know anybody like that. Don't worry about it. People who have totally cleansed themselves from any negia, have totally davuk b'Kadosh Baruch Hu. And they don't do a thing without a cheshbon. And then suddenly they have this obsessive desire for something. I don't know. The guy's mamish noki b'yoser, and he wants to go to medical school. All of a sudden, it's not because he saw a medical movie. It's not because his grandfather or uncle or his cousin was a doctor. Epis a type which makes no sense. I repeat, and this is a person which is shoylit moyach shalit al alev. And this is a person which doesn't make a move without a cheshbon of kavod shemayim, like Rav Nachman writes in Likutei Moharan, Madura Kama, everything you make, you should make the cheshbon. Is God in this with me or not? It's a very important mimer to read. He says everything you would do in life, what college course you're going to take, what school you're going to attend, etc. Is there kavod shemayim in this or not? I remember Rav Lichtenstein used to always say that, you know, if you can be a doctor, you can be a banker being a doctor. trying to say that this is a cheshbon that people have to make. I'm not going to drive you crazy here. Remember, Baron used to talk about that a lot. But Lemaisa, this is Ishbitz. If a person is really clean, really, really clean, and he lived all his day b'cheshbon, and everything was, the question is it covered Shemaim or not covered Shemaim, and suddenly he gets an obsession, he wants to be a doctor. So he says, the pshat is this, the Kadosh Baruch Hu is telling you, go be a doctor. That's what your soul needs. Go be a doctor. Yes, be a doctor. Now, this is not a roy for every John, Dick, and Harry, unless someone here thinks that he's has cleaned himself and every day he's all cheshbon, so only covered Shemaim. I don't know. That I somehow do not believe that anybody that almost anybody that I know can say that. Yeah. There are people which totally are shalit moichem shalom balev. They're mamish, the Beni of Tanya. The moichem totally shalit balev, and they're not choyte in machshava and dibur and ma'isa, and everything is mi tabo oretz ad kisei hakaved. They're mekayim the dovka boy. The way the Ramban explains al the chumash what dveikus really means. It's got nothing to do with kumbaya. It means living with a constant God awareness and not moving from it as much as humanly possible without your fuses busting. When you have an obsessive desire, you follow it. Now, obviously, it can't be something which is not, we have Torah today. There's gvulos. You have a big taiva for ham. I got news for you. God doesn't have that taiva. If that taiva came in, it means something's wrong in your cleanliness. It means that obviously you're not clean, and the taiva comes from you, not a ratzon from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because the Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't, if that same Kadosh Baruch Hu, which sends ritzaynus, also does not tell your ratzon to be made for brisoi. But let's talk about Yehuda and Tamar. There was no Aveira done. Kalosai is not an erva for Abnei Noach. Anybody who learns a Rambam, Ichlis Rabbiya should know that. Kalosai is not an erva. They only have 6 arayas. They don't have 15. We get a whole dose more. Look up the list. There was no Aveira done. If you read the Chumash, what? To encounter a casual sexual encounter with a lady of the street, he didn't even seem to be embarrassed. If you read the Chumash, the only thing he was embarrassed from, he sent her a payment. There's no one to pay. He says, God, people will say I don't pay my bills. And that was embarrassing. The group of the people will know that he had an encounter with a lady of the street. This doesn't mention concern about that. He must mention how she's going to say I didn't pay. I'm not good. You can't say she wasn't around. Read Chumash. There was no Aveira here. Just what are you doing? After all, you're a Navi. You're like, what kind of thing is this? A Navi is a person which shouldn't be obsessed with typus anymore. I mean, he has a bit. We know the Rama makes a list in Shemona Prakim of Nevi'im which had certain fallacies, including Shlomo Melech. He had a type for women. He mentioned that he had 1,000 wives. He said, I don't think it was for Priya. He said that David HaMelech had a taint of violence, and Eliyahu Navi was a bit of an angry man. No one's 100% perfect. It's a very unbelievable list. They would never print it today in English. I wonder if Art School printed Shemona Prakim. Okay, whatever it be. Okay, so they're not 100% perfect. Moshe Rabbeinu had that anger. He was the most perfect human being we know about. Okay, after all, you're an elevated person. You're a Navi. What are you doing? If I state in Rashi, Malach Hamamuna Lataiva Doch V'Sai. The Malach, which his job is to bring Taivas, it pushed you. Now, what do you think it means? Some rosy-cheeked little round thing with gossamer wings pushed them? What do you think when you read that Medrash or that Gemara? The Malach al Amuva Muna Lataiva, he pushed him to Tamar. Zaymer Michael. What is it? Tayu V'Zavin, Tayu V'Yoiv. What do you mean you pushed me? Yeah, what does that mean? Malach al Muna Lataiva. Well, Malach means to say a shliach of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, the kelim through which a Kadosh Baruch Hu works. Just like there's also a malach which is called Seichel HaMaskelis. Malach doesn't mean this little thing running around like in Christian art. It means the kli of a Kadosh Baruch Hu when he wants to infuse people with obsessive desires. That's called malach emunah lataiva. So he understands that the Israel. What does it mean by Yehuda? All of a sudden, God infused in him an incontrollable obsessive desire. Did he have bechira? Of course he had bechira. So then why did he why didn't he control his taiva? Isn't that what you're supposed to do? Because Yehuda said to himself, I'm clean. I am 100% clean. I'm mamish Navi. I'm mamish Yehuda. And if this is that, this must be Rasan HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that I should encounter this lady. There's no issue here. This doesn't make sense, but that's what God wills he does. And we know the Midrash says before says God says you don't have. I'm trying to make Mashiach. This whole encounter was done without das, purely obsessive desire. So that's he was obviously Rasan HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but I got to pay my bills. I repeat, this is only for people like Yehuda. So this is what it says. Read this Me'ashilech. Ube'emes in this Me'ashilech that I sent you in that thin column, a small one. Ube'emes li Yehuda b'maaseh de Tamar. V'chein b'chol ha'maisim b'shevet Yehuda adoimim lazeh. This is a big key for further. Natam be'em Hashem yitbarach koach ha'ta'ava kol kach עד שלא היה באפשרותם להתגבר. וכמו שמבואר במדרש בראשית רבה פרשה פ"ה פסוק ט' שמלאך הממונה על התאווה הכריחו ולכן לא עליו האשם במה שלא היה יכול להתגבר על יצרו. God gave him obsessive desires, he followed it. Now Reb Tzaddik writes, this also sent to you, in Tzidkas HaTzadik, in Perek Mem Beis. I want to read it to you. Again, this is only for very special people, but we spoke so much about containing taivas. Understand that yes, taiva is a kli for a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Sometimes it's there to use for Torah mitzvahs. Sometimes it's there when it's obsessive and it doesn't make sense at all. And you're a clean person. God should help us. We should get close to this. We have to start looking at biblical characters in a certain way. What does it mean by Yisavu Taiva? Goodness sakes, they're Nevi'im, for goodness sakes. Remember, Rambam said that for Aboim Shon Bamidbar, the Shivchal Hayam was like a Navi like Yecheskel. Now read Sefer Bamidbar and tell me what they were doing. I need meat. I need spare ribs. This is the guy which looks from Kis Tabor Earth to Kisei covered like Yecheskel Hanavi, and he's dying over spare ribs. What does this mean? What was this energy supposed to be used for, and what was it translated in? That's what happens. These are not reading well what these things are and making terrible mistakes. These are chatoim with an upper crust of godless. They're not you and me. So let's look what Reb Tzaddik says in Tzidkas HaTzadik Ois Mem Gimel. Pa'amim yesh adam. Oh, I'm not going to finish this today. Let's just read this Reb Tzaddik. Pa'amim yesh adam omed b'nisayon gadol kol kach ad she'i efshar lo yichteh. There's some times which it's totally impossible. I mean impossible, not improbable. It just can't happen. Like Yehuda. Everything went berserk. Kederch shamru and brachas lamed beis ma yasa ben shelo yechte. Ubezeu nechshav oynis gomer. Tirachmane Patre. Vigamba Satata Yetze Betoikiv Otzum Shi Efshel Natzchoy Shayach Oinus. Va'ayim Ashomer Biksubis Gabetchilase Beoinus. Afil Tzavcha Lebesoif Shil Mali Manicha Yishoichi Soichrisoi Muteres Lebaila. The din is if a guy was Oinus Ish. And then, like in the middle of the act, she was so happy. She said, "Listen, keep on going. I would pay you for this." She's not. She's called Oinus. The sefer she is called Oinus. So we say, "My tiny Yitzhak b'shei." I raise a mechshav Oinus gomer of Yitzhak b'shei. Afa pishim ritzayna. Mikomakam Yitzhak gadol kazeh I efsher ba'adam lekufay. Yeah, there are people like that. Who Oinus gomer? Ve'ein b'zeh Oinish abda asa iser. Kivin the haya anus. That's all. Aval Adam atzmo ein yachol al id atzmo b'gazeh. Man can't say that it's impossible. No one can testify this. Ki ulay haya lekoyach lokus yitzroy. If you would taken know that's taken did everything under the sun and more, that would be called an Oinus. But who can say that? Is there anybody that can say, yes, I really tackled this in the big, you think it was very hard. Very hard does not mean possible. There is no determinism. There's still free will at the end of everything. That's what Reb says, Ki Adam Atzmei En Yochel Lahoyid Al Atzmei B'Zeh. You're not clean. You can't say that this was impossible. You don't live your life of constantly containing yourself and controlling yourself. And all of a sudden, I've lived my life in an unbelievable, disciplined way. So this was really out of the park. None of your life mostly is based on you're just doing things. But the easiest type will kick you out of place. So all of a sudden, you're going to say this was impossible. And then he adds in the parenthesis brackets, Ukamosha Shamati Mizeh Miyan Zimri Shetoah Bazeh. Shamati by the mitzvah because the tzaddik means his Rebbe. His Rebbe is the Meir Shilech. I can't read this now because now it's late because you have to go to supper. But Dash Date, if tzaddik brings down, this is the Meir Shilech, based on the Ari. Zimri had an obsessive desire for connection to this specific lady. I just want you to know, there's a book called Shara Gegulim of Reb Chaim Vital. I'm going to tell you something. And Reb Vital writes that Zimri, his neshama finally was fixed. And guess how it came back into this world? Reb Akiva ben Yosef, you ever hear of him? Shayrish Teresh Shebal Peh. That's Zimri ben Solu. Ashayinid. And guess who Kozi Basur came back as? Zokta Marchu. This is really fascinating. Ashes Tunis Rufus, the wife of the Tinius Rufus, was the governor of Judea, which died. She converted, and guess who she married? Rabbi Akiva. They actually were soulmates. He had her too early. There was a lot of history that had to be done before those souls would meet together. He had an obsessive taiva, says, because he felt and he understood they were soulmates. So don't tell me this is wrong. One thing, he made a mistake. He trusted himself too much. He wasn't clean enough to make that claim. He wasn't an Oinus. He tied I'm like Yehuda and Tomer. Pנחas didn't chop this whole thing. He thought, he's a noyef. That's why the Shvatim were mevazah Pנחas afterwards. You idiot! This was a holy man, and he may have made a mistake. But you're going around chopping things up. What are you doing? That's why it says after what Pנחas did, the Shvatim were mevazah him. That you're the grandson of Yisrael. You're the grandson of this. You're a hothead. You don't chop. It was a mistake in godless. He thought he was holding like Yehuda and Tamar, and he wasn't. There was truth in what he was doing, but not now. He rewrites Ochla Paga. He connected to her when it was still not ripe. It needed a few thousand years later for those neshamas to come to an akuda of which they should meet. I would love to elaborate on this, but it's already too late. But I think this is what we're learning from here is a big kind of a kama yisoidus. The biggest side we've learned, the important that with things that we look as challenges are actually sometimes enormous koiches which we have to channel in the right place. We shouldn't be depressed for them. We should be using them and learning how to use them. That's number one. When you do have a taiva, you first have to look deeply in yourself. Is this from me or is it from a Kadosh Baruch Hu? The only way you could really know is if you've lived a life of discipline of cleaning yourself. Even then, you're not 100% sure. I personally always use this, if you learn to train yourself and you don't know how to make a decision, you have something pulling you towards a certain place, and it's mutter. We're talking within Shulchan Aruch. For example, whether to go to medical school or to business school or law school. And somehow there's something drawing you to medical school, although medicine is not part of my metzius at all. I didn't watch medical TV programs. I don't have an uncle and aunt grandfather, and I'm drawn to medical school. It's a kosher, a taiva, and you've tried your life to live seriously with your shemayim. Follow it. That may be exactly what your neshama wants. The Ishbitzer writes this mefurish in Parsha Shoftim in Seid Yeshorim. He says that every soul has something missing. And it's drawn to what it's missing. We have to learn how to translate that. What are you drawn to? Forget only within the Shulchan Aruch, as I said before. Okay? Only with Shulchan Aruch. But the only way you could know it if you clean yourself. You can only do that if you start living a life of cheshbon, of moyach shalit ala lev, of moyach shalit ala tchushos, of moyach shalit ala machshavos. The more we live with moyach, how many times have I taught this during this man? Okay, the more we live with moyach, we have a key to understand what God wants from us today, now, in certain junctions that there's no Sefer Shulchan Aruch about. And that's a very important yesod. So first of all, remember that everything is a kli. Don't run away from it, just channel it. And remember that dafka, the Yetzer Hara, has such tuma in this mashal. You have to chap that. I'm not the Mittler Rebbe, but I always think about him. There's a drush of the Ramchal to explain his ksuba al pi Kabbalah. There is so much depth in the joining of male and female and the sanctity of marriage in Kedusha that it's mind-boggling. You're too young to learn this, and I don't even teach it to Chasanim. But there is so much there that it's mind-boggling. Get used to the idea that your whole metzius in this world is nothing more than a levush, and it's a mashal to a much deeper nimshal. And that's where you really are in that nimshal. Good. That will be enough for this semester, I guess. Bye. See you tomorrow. We are continuing learning good old meat and potatoes. Bye. Good evening. Take care.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Bye.